Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. We have a great show for you today. First, who is Papa Roger, and is that person Bryan Kohberger? The prosecution calls their last witness in the Karen Reed case, and the defense, they got to be getting a little nervous. Escaped ex-police chief sparks fears and frenzy in Arkansas. From set to cell and back, the curious case of Hannah Gutierrez Reed. A Louisiana grandmother has been arrested for aiding her grandson in the New Orleans jail escape. We have this day in legal history, the quote of the day, and our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Leave me a comment below. Hit that little bell for notifications. And remember, you can check us out on any of your favorite podcasting apps as well. Now, you may notice, got a little bit of a cold here today. I thought Friday, it's just allergies because there was pollen blowing everywhere. It was terrible. And then it rained all weekend here in Denver. And so it wasn't allergies. I just got a head cold. So excuse my voice. It's kind of a sexy phone voice though, isn't it though? I mean, I don't know. Do with it what you may. Anyway, before we get to the doc today, I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. And let me remind you to go to crimetalksearch.com and check out getting a background subscription service subscription. All right. When you do, you'll be able to do as many background searches as you desire on anyone here in the United States. And the report that is literally generated while you wait, you're going to be able to find out if somebody has email addresses. Maybe ask yourself, why did this report come back and he has 7 email addresses? Is that for all his dating apps that he doesn't tell you about? Going to find out if he has multiple phone numbers. You're going to find out about his social media presence. Why do all those social media sites come back to those various different email accounts? Something you may want to check out. You're going to find out if somebody has a criminal history. Are they married? Are they divorced? Are they on one of those sex offender registries? And yes, most importantly, what is their criminal history? Go to crimetalksearch.com. Sign up today. You're going to be happy that you did. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the docket for Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. Now, this story has been out here for a little bit. We really haven't covered it at all because, frankly, you can't make a case for it either way because, well, there's not enough information. We don't know. All right. Nothing's come out in court filings, but the reality of it is it's out there. And so we're going to discuss it. You can decide. So the alleged connection between Bryan Kohberger, obviously the suspect in the University of Idaho murders, and the online alias of a person by the name of Papa Roger has sparked significant debate, primarily, in the online community that likes true crime. And there's even been, for example, an FBI agent that has touted this theory quite heavily. Now, let's go through a little bit of an examination for the reasons supporting and opposing the theory that Bryan Kohberger was behind the Papa Roger alias. So the reasons supporting this theory that Bryan Kohberger is Papa Roger. First, details about the knife sheath. On November 30th, 2022, Papa Roger posted in the University of Idaho murder case discussion Facebook group stating, of the evidence released, the murder weapon has been consistent as a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath. This evidence was released prior to autopsies, and this comment was made before the police publicly confirmed the discovery of the K-bar knife sheath and at the crime scene, which later became a critical piece of evidence due to the DNA found on it. Now, the accuracy of that prediction raised suspicion that Papa Roger had inside knowledge, possibly as the perpetrator. Now, let's take a look at the crime scene timeline. All right. Now, Papa Roger made other specific claims, such as the killer entering through a sliding glass door, the approximate time of the murders, 3:20 to 3:40 a.m., and the killer's vehicle leaving skid marks. These details align closely with the information later released in the probable cause affidavit, which detailed Kohberger's movements and the presence of a white Hyundai Elantra. Then we have the similarity to Kohberger's academic work. Online sleuths and former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer noted similarities between Papa Roger's posts and a Reddit survey Kohberger conducted as a student at DeSalle University. The survey asked criminals about their emotions and decision-making during the crimes, using a matter-of-fact tone and specific phrasing that some argue mirrored Papa Roger's post. For example, both used precise analytical language when discussing crime details, leading to speculation that Kohberger's criminology background informed his online activity. Now, the group administrator reported that the Papa Rogers was argumentative, often engaging in heated debates and insisting on the accuracy of his claims. This behavior was perceived as consistent with reports of Kohberger's personality, described by some as needing to be right and very authoritative, aligning with the academic focus on criminology. And then we have some of the suspicious timing that takes place. So, silence after the arrest. Now, Papa Roger was highly active in Facebook group until December 29th, 2022, when the account was removed from the group at 7:10 p.m. the evening before Kohberger's arrest on December 30th. The account then went silent, which some interpret as evidence that the user was Kohberger, who was taken into custody and can no longer post. Now, Christine Cameron, a group administrator, noted that Papa Rogers created a new group with 6 members after being removed, but ceased actively post-arrest. Then we have the reactivation timing. So in July of 2023, the Papa Rogers account briefly reactivated, posting about unrelated topics like a fishing trip and the Carmel School Board. Some speculated this could be Kohberger's defense team attempting to create a reasonable doubt, or that an impersonator, but others saw the long dormancy followed by reactivation as suspicious, potentially indicating controlled access, such as through a monitored tablet, possibly in jail. And then the Papa Rogers account used an AI-generated image of a soldier in Russian military uniform, which some believe resembled Kohberger's side profile. Clearly aged. This led to theories that Kohberger chose an image to obscure his identity while subtly reflecting himself. Then the connection to Elliot Rodger. Some online users, including a forensic expert cited in reports, suggested that the name Papa Rogers referenced Elliot Rodger, the 2014 Isla Vista killer who identified as an insult, involuntarily celibate. This connection was seen as plausible given Kohberger's criminology studies, which likely covered high-profile cases like Rogers, and speculation that Kohberger may have shared similar psychological traits. The theory persists, and Kohberger chose the name to align himself with Rogers' ideology or notoriety. And then, like I said, we have the former FBI agent Jennifer Kofendaffer, a retired FBI agent, actively supported the theory, citing the accuracy of Papa Rogers' posts and their alignment with Kohberger's criminology expertise. She tweeted, quote, "I have followed Papa Roger comments with intrigue. This comment was of particular interest after the release of the probable cause affidavit. The comment just seems to hit home." She also suggested Kohberger's sloppy execution of the crime, example, leaving the DNA, using his own car, made it plausible he would leave a digital trail. Now, some believe Kohberger also used the Reddit handle Inside Looking, which posted similar accurate details about the murders, such as the killer's entry through a sliding door and the significance of the white Hyundai Elantra. While not definitively linked, the overlap is detailed knowledge between the two accounts fueled speculation that Kohberger used multiple pseudonyms or to monitor or influence discussions. Now, of course, that's the theory as to why that could possibly be Bryan Kohberger as Papa Roger. Now let's go to why it could be that it is not. So the first theory that Kohberger is a Papa Roger obviously lacks any official confirmation. No law enforcement agencies, including the Moscow Police Department or the FBI, have confirmed a link between Kohberger and the Papa Roger account. Despite a search warrant served on Meta, obviously Facebook, with the results sealed by the court, no public evidence that has tied Kohberger to this account. This absence of concrete proof is a significant barrier to accepting that theory. Then we have the accurate predictions. Now, common deductions. Some argue that Papa Roger's predictions, such as the presence of a knife sheath, were logical deductions based upon public information. Police had disclosed early on that the bladed weapon was used, and a sheath is a common accessory for the fixed blade knife. Other details like the timeline or entry point could have been inferred from the news report or general knowledge of the crime scene analysis. Then we have posts on X and Reddit suggest that other users also speculated about a sheath or a similar details before officials confirmed, reducing the uniqueness of Papa Roger's claims. For example, a user on X noted that others like Blanca made early accurate predictions suggesting Papa Roger was not uniquely informed. Then we have the reactivation of the Papa Roger's account in July of 2023 while he was in custody undermines this theory. Posts about unrelated topics such as fishing trips led some to conclude the account belonged to someone else, possibly an impersonator or a user like JLR Investigates, a former fraud felon known to true crime content. These suggest that the original account may have not even been Bryan Kohberger's. And then, obviously, it's speculative. The theory relies heavily on unverified online posts and screenshots, which are prone to manipulation or misinterpretation. For instance, Reddit moderators reportedly debunked the inside-looking connection, suggesting similar skepticism could apply to Papa Roger. The lack of direct access to the accounts, metadata, or login records make it difficult to confirm ownership. And then some speculate that Papa Rogers could be a deep cover investigator, a retired police officer, or a true crime enthusiast with access to insider information. The account's reactivation and shift to mundane topics supports this idea that it belongs to somebody uninvolved in the crime, possibly exploiting the case notoriety. Now, critics have argued that Kohberger, as a criminology PhD student, would likely avoid posting incriminating details online, especially given the awareness of the digital forensics. His alleged efforts to conceal his actions, for example, turning off his phone, allegedly, contrast with the reckless behavior of Papa Rogers, who drew attention by arguing and posting specific details. This discrepancy suggests the account may belong to someone less cautious or potentially uninvolved. And then, of course, after Papa Roger gained attention, multiple accounts with similar names and profile pictures appeared on Facebook, indicating possible copycats. This complicates efforts to link the original account to Kohberger, as the viral nature of the theory may have prompted others to mimic the account for attention or to mislead investigators. Then we have to deal with the fact that social media posts, even if suggestive, are unlikely to meet the evidentiary threshold for court unless corroborated by metadata, for example, IP addresses or other forensic evidence. The prosecution has focused on physical evidence, for example, the DNA, the cell phone data, surveillance footage, rather than speculative online activity, suggesting that the Papa Roger connection may be completely irrelevant to the case. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The theory that Bryan Kohberger is Papa Roger is supported by the account's early accurate predictions, similarities to Kohberger's academic work, and the suspicious timing of its silence after his arrest. These factors, combined with the endorsement from a former FBI agent and Kohberger's criminology background, obviously have fueled speculation that he used the alias to engage with or manipulate discussions about the murder. However, the lack of official confirmation, the account's reactivation, and plausible alternative explanations, for example, the logical deductions, impersonation, or another user, cast significant doubt on the theory. The absence of concrete forensic evidence linking Kohberger to the account and the speculative nature of online discussions means the connection remains unproven and is treated as inconclusive, particularly by the police authorities. So there you have it. You decide, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it's him. And even if it was, how do you prove it? Unless there's something that has not been made public that would link Bryan Kohberger to that. I just don't think he would be that stupid, given what he knows about the forensic trail that follows somebody. But you never know. That's why people get caught. They make mistakes. Now, obviously, Bryan Kohberger is given the presumption of innocence, and we will give him that unless and until he either A, pleads guilty, or B, is convicted by a jury of his peers. Now, next on a little more Bryan Kohberger news, the mother of one of the 4 University of Idaho students murdered is now asking for financial help to attend the trial. Obviously, Kohberger is accused of murdering Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez, who were obviously all stabbed to death. Now, a friend of Xana's mom, Kara Northington, started a GoFundMe to make sure Kara can make the 400-mile trip from northern Idaho, where she lives, to Boise, where the trial is expected, obviously, to take place this summer, pending, of course, the motion to continue filed by the defense. Now, the trial is expected to last 3 months, and apparently they're looking to raise a paltry $50,000. Those funds will cover all of Kara's expenses as she takes off from work and relocates from northern Idaho to Boise during the duration of the trial. But just to be clear, Kaylee Gonzalez's family has also set up a GoFundMe so that they can attend the trial. Madison Mogen's family has a GoFundMe to help attend the trial as well. Now, the jury selection is scheduled to begin July 30th. Obviously, depending on whether the motion to continue filed by the defense is granted. Now, I don't know how things are done in Idaho as it relates to victim witness, but I can tell you here, normally the family, they would be put up in a hotel. They would be flown or, paid a stipend to show up. And that would be for the entire trial. The state would do that. So I'm not sure why they need this GoFundMe other than maybe to pay for their other bills and expenses while they're not working. But that's usually the way it works. The prosecution through the victim advocate's office picks up the bill. Next, the last witness in the Karen Reed trial for the prosecution is testifying, and that is coming to an end. And yes, the defense must be getting just a little bit nervous. So the Karen Reed trial enters its 6th week today after a long holiday break, with the prosecution expected to call, and did call, Dr. Judson Welcher. Now, the judge said that she expected the trial to last 6 to 8 weeks, and she said that things are actually ahead of schedule. So Mr. Brennan, the special prosecutor, began his direct questioning of Dr. Judson Welcher, and he deals with accident reconstruction issues. He is a biomechanical engineer, so he can analyze the impacts of crashes on the human body. Now, Mr. Brennan established his expertise and knowledge in the field, including his degrees, publications, and professional experiences. He said about 10% of his work involves pedestrians. He also dealt a lot with event data recorders, particularly in Toyota vehicles. Now, Dr. Welcher works for Aperture. His company was acquired by it, and he works out of their Long Beach office. So Mr. Brennan then asked him to share what he reviewed in the Reed case. His list included police reports, several other reports, ring video from O'Keefe's home, cruiser cameras, photos and videos of the scene, video of Reed's car being pulled into the Sally Port, diagram surveillance footage from the bars, a Lexus Connect Verizon records, witness statements, Jennifer McCabe's cell phone data, interviews by Reed, lab reports, O'Keefe's GPS data, weather reports, autopsy reports, and a whole lot more. He said that he got all of the info and then did some additional research. He analyzed Reed and O'Keefe's vehicle using their VIN numbers. He said he went to the scene himself and purchased the exact same type of vehicle as Reed to do his testing. Welcher created a PowerPoint with his findings, and then in September of 2024, Welcher did an inspection and scan on site of Reed's 2021 Lexus SUV and O'Keefe's Chevrolet SUV. He also downloaded data from the text stream on the Lexus computer and took hundreds of photographs. Now, Welcher said that there was no information in the EDR system of Reed's car about a collision. He said he expected this because it is for a car-to-car crashes, not pedestrian crashes. The second system he looked at was from Reed's car is called the text stream, for which Toyota originally designed for issues with their vehicles. He said it can also help with accident reconstruction because things like sudden acceleration or rapid turning or the steering wheel. He analyzed the scenario that happened when Reed hit O'Keefe's vehicle on her way to go to look for him in the morning of January 29th of 2022. Welcher went over the event from the text stream data and extracted that data from Reed's Lexus. He noticed that its records, mileage, time when the vehicle was started, and much more. He explained that he was able to match the running clock time from the text stream data to real time based on a report on the infotainment system from his colleagues Shannon Burgess. Now, Brennan asked Welcher a series of questions about the data he got from the Lexus, and he showed how he believes the data illustrates a 3-point turn being made on the Cedar Crest Road. He said that this was the first trigger event on the Lexus for the ignition cycle in question on the night involved. 19 minutes or so into that same ignition cycle, there was a second trigger event on the Lexus, according to Dr. Welcher. Using things like the acceleration, RPM, and shifting data, Welcher said that the vehicle went forward 34 feet and then backed up about 53 feet, adding that the records also show a 3/4 throttle while the car is in reverse. He also had data from a 10-second window from the trigger event. At the end of the window, he said that the vehicle was going approximately 23 miles an hour. Tying in data from O'Keefe's iPhone, he said that the event happened between 12:32:04 and 12:32:12. Just as things were getting good, the judge broke for lunch. Well, after lunch, Welcher showed a computer model representing how Reed's SUV moved forward, then back. He said it was a 3-point turn with a high throttle opening in a transition to reverse. It's a forward motion followed by a high-speed reverse motion. In those 10 seconds, Welcher said the vehicle moved some 87 feet. He also said the time it happened matched when her phone data put her in the front of Fairview Road home, where O'Keefe was fatally injured. Now, Welcher gave some insight into how he tested his data using an identical SUV and data from a Ring video showing Reed's backing into O'Keefe's SUV. The expert said, I got the exact same year, make, and model, made at the same plant in Texas, and it had it shipped to California for his testing. Then he took video of Reed's backing into O'Keefe's SUV at his house that morning of O'Keefe's death, confirming while he testified that Reed's vehicle made contact with O'Keefe's and created a computer model that matches the exact dimensions of the scene. That let the Aperture team model the constant between the two vehicles. There was no damage where these marks are. Sure, it knocked the snow off, but it wasn't sufficient to cause damage to the vehicle, he testified, adding that there was no evidence that the contact would have even damaged Reed's taillight. Working to determine what caused the scratch injuries to O'Keefe's arm, Welcher realized he was roughly the same height and weight as O'Keefe, so he stood in for the man during this testing. He showed video of himself hitting and rolling off the taillight, which he'd covered in a paint that doesn't dry, which revealed that the approximate location of the taillight lines up with the approximate location of O'Keefe's arm injuries. He mentioned that pedestrian injuries can be tough to model exactly, with body position affecting the outcome, and that his testing would not exactly replicate how O'Keefe was injured. He said, we attempted to model different possibilities and found that small changes in the pedestrian position gave you a huge change in the output. Now, Welcher also showed video of the test SUV hitting him at a very low speed, which he said caused him to roll away from the vehicle. So that's kind of where it broke by the time we were doing this show. Dr. Welcher, very good on the witness stand, knows his stuff, very calm, cool, collected. We'll see how cross-examination goes. Probably do a little bit today and then tomorrow as well. But hey, Karen Reed, presumption of innocence. But the demonstration to show that this is how the biomechanics work, it was pretty persuasive. The Karen Reed team's got to be getting a little nervous, ladies and gentlemen. I told you this Brandon guy was good. I told you could tell early on he was good, and that he's dismantling the defense's case that they had the first round through. And remember what I said, the defense never does better the second time through. Next on the docket, an escaped police chief sparks fear and frenzy in Arkansas. That's right, in a plot twist that could rival a Hollywood thriller, Grant Hardin, a former Arkansas police chief turned convicted murderer and has slipped through the confines of the Calico Rock North Central Unit, leaving authorities scrambling and the communities on edge. Now, the 56-year-old who traded his badge for a 30-year sentence in 2017 made his audacious escape on Sunday at approximately 2:50 p.m., according to the Arkansas Department of Corrections. His method, you may say, a makeshift outfit crafted to mimic law enforcement, proving that old habits of donning authority die hard. Anyway, Hardin's breakout prompted an immediate lockdown of roads surrounding the prison, with the Stone County Sheriff Brandon Long overseeing vehicle checks into the early hours on Monday to ensure that the fugitive hadn't commandeered a car or taken any hostages. He said, I am very scared that this guy is going to hurt or kill somebody before this is over, he said. Anyway, his words carrying the weight of a man who knows what's at stake. As of Tuesday morning, Hardin remains at large with an active manhunt involving multiple law enforcement agencies. He's described as 6 feet tall and weighing 259 pounds. Hardin is no small figure, obviously, physically or criminally. His rap sheet reads like a grim novel. A guilty plea in 2017 for the first-degree murder of James Appleton and a 50-year sentence for the 1997 rape of an elementary school teacher in Rogers, Arkansas. A case spotlighted in a 2023 television series, Devil in the Ozarks. Now, the former prosecutor who secured Hardin's conviction didn't mince words, labeling him a sociopath with no moral code or center that would prevent him from doing anything. Smith's concerns extends beyond the escape itself, noting that Hardin's actions reopen old wounds for victims and their families who had found closure in his guilty pleas. The escape has left local communities, particularly in the Izard County, Izard County there, and surrounding areas gripped with fear. And authorities have urged residents to lock their doors, secure their vehicles, and report any suspicious activities by calling 911 immediately. The sheriff noted that the focus is on recapture, with law enforcement urging vigilance and caution. And Hardin's escape is a stark reminder that some shadows cast long and dangerous reaches, even from behind bars. Next, from the movie set to a cell and back, the curious case of Hannah Gutierrez. In another plot twist worthy of a Hollywood thriller, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the armorer in the center of the tragic Rust shooting, has traded her prison jumpsuit for the open road. Released from the Western New Mexico Correctional Facility in Grants on Friday, Gutierrez Reed is now back in Bulkhead City, Arizona, after serving a 18-month sentence for involuntary manslaughter in the 2021 death of the cinematographer Helena Hutchins. But don't cue the triumphant soundtrack just yet. This tale of guns, glamour, and legal gambits is far from its final reel. That's right, Gutierrez Reed's saga began on the dusty set of Rust, a Western that promised gritty authenticity but delivered tragedy instead. Back in October of 2021, when Alec Baldwin, the co-producer of the show and the lead actor, during a rehearsal outside of Santa Fe, discharged his gun, killing Helena Hutchinson and injuring Joel Souza. Now, the prosecution pointed the fingers at Gutierrez Reed, accusing her of smuggling live ammunition onto the set and flouting basic gun safety protocols. A jury agreed, convicting her in March of 2024. Yet in a twist that could make anybody jealous, she was acquitted of evidence tampering allegations in the same trial. Well, now Gutierrez Reed is out on parole with a few strings attached. Think mental health assessments and a stern no guns allowed clause. She's also under probation supervision for a separate guilty plea after toting a firearm into a Santa Fe bar where guns are as welcome as a skunk at a picnic. That misstep, weeks before Rust began filming, added another layer to her legal woes. Meanwhile, her involuntary manslaughter conviction is under appeal, with her legal team hoping to rewrite the ending in a higher court. Now, the Rust saga itself is a study in contradictions. Baldwin facing his own involuntary manslaughter charge, only to see it dismissed mid-trial in 2024, when allegations surfaced that the prosecutors and police played hide and seek with evidence. The film remarkably soldiered on, wrapping production in Montana and hitting theaters this month. It is the kind of comeback story that Hollywood loves, right? Though one wonders if audiences are ready to watch a Western where the real-life drama overshadowed the scripted one. Anyway, Gutierrez Reed's journey from armor to inmate to parolee raises some questions about accountability on film sets. Was she the sole culprit in a chaotic production or a scapegoat for systemic failures? The live rounds that slipped onto the set didn't exactly walk in on their own, after all. And as she settles back in Arizona, one can't help but wonder if she's pondering a sequel, perhaps a tell-all memoir titled Blanks, Bullets, and Bar Fights. For now, though, the credits haven't rolled. Stay tuned for the appeal. Next, a Louisiana grandmother arrested for aiding her grandson in New Orleans' jail escape. That's right. On May 22nd, 2025, Louisiana State Police arrested 59-year-old Connie Whedon of Sidell, Louisiana, for allegedly assisting her grandson, Jermaine Donald, in his escape from the Orleans Justice Center in New Orleans on May 16th. Now, Whedon faces a felony charge of being an accessory after the fact under Louisiana Revised Statute 14-25, following her alleged involvement in providing financial support to Donald, who remains at large alongside 4 other fugitives. The escape, described as a bold and unusual breakout, involved 10 inmates, including Donald, who reportedly carved a hole behind a toilet to crawl out of the facility operated by the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office. Now, according to the Louisiana State Police press release, 5 of the escapees have been recaptured. However, Donald, along with Derek Groves, Antoine Massey, Leo Tate, and Lenton Vandenberg, remain as fugitives. Now, investigators revealed that was in contact with Donald via phone both before and after the escape, and authorities allege she sent cash to him through a cell phone app, facilitating his ability to evade capture. Following these findings, Whedon was apprehended in Sidell and booked into the St. Tammany Parish Correctional Center. Now, the Orleans Parish Sheriff, Susan Hudson, responded swiftly to the incident, suspending multiple staff members and initiating an internal investigation. And in a statement issued May 20th, Hudson took full responsibility for the security lapse, stating, "We've taken immediate action. Still, there is a long road ahead to ensure that the Orleans Justice Center and my deputies have the proper resources to perform their duties." She also announced a pause in her re-election campaign to focus on addressing the facility's shortcomings. Now, the escape has raised significant concerns about the security protocols at the Orleans Justice Center, prompting calls for reform and increased oversight. The ongoing search for the remaining fugitive continues, with law enforcement urging the public to provide any information that could lead to their capture. Next on the docket, this day in legal history, May 27th, 1849, San Francisco officials were addressing vigilante actions against crime during the California Gold Rush. These efforts led to legal reforms, culminating in California's first state penal code in 1850. That's right, they used to take justice into their own hands. You steal somebody's gold, they hung you up. Stole somebody's horse, they hung you up. Just the way it was. Keeps a low recidivism rate. Next, 1861, May 27th, 1861, President Lincoln authorizes the suspension of habeas corpus in Maryland to suppress Confederate sympathizers. Controversial legal action upheld in Ex parte Merryman set wartime civil liberty precedents. And on this date in 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson. That's right. Legal scholars and activists were reacting to the recent Plessy versus Ferguson decision, which legalized segregation. This spurred early civil rights litigation against discriminatory laws. And on May 27th, 1940, the Department of Justice was planning cases under the Smith Act criminalizing subversive activities. These targeted communists, shaping Cold War era free speech laws. And on this date in 1942, early legal challenges to Japanese Americans' internment under the Executive Order 9066 were being prepared. Cases like Hirabashi versus United States tested the constitutional limits of internment. And on this date, May 27, 1961, the Freedom Riders faced arrest in Mississippi for challenging segregated bus terminals, and their cases enforced federal desegregation laws, advancing civil rights. The quote of the day: "The right to counsel is a cornerstone of a fair legal system, ensuring that every individual, regardless of means or circumstances, has access to competent representation to defend their liberties." That's right. That's from Gideon v. Wainwright, the case decided in 1963, emphasizing the fundamental importance of the Sixth Amendment right to counsel. And finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Mario takes video game joyride down California highway. That's right. In a scene straight out of a pixelated arcade, a California driver dubbed Mario by authorities turned a crowded highway into a personal Mario Kart track on Sunday, only to find himself in the slammer instead of the winner's circle. Now, the California Highway Patrol in Modesto nabbed the reckless racer after he was caught weaving through traffic like he was dodging banana peels at a breakneck speed. Now, according to the California Highway Patrol, the unidentified driver was spotted by their specifically marked patrol vehicle unit, a stealthy operation designed to blend in with traffic and catch daredevils in the act. Now, Mario was clocked zipping along at over 90 miles per hour, slaloming through the lanes and tailgating unsuspecting motorists with a flair that would make even the Bowser blush. Now, the State Patrol wasn't amused, promptly arresting him for reckless driving, a misdemeanor under California law that could land him for up to 90 days in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. Now, the CHP quipped in their Facebook post, "Game over," emphasizing that the covert nature of their sneaky vehicle launched in May with a fleet of a 2024 Dodge SUV. The initiative targets video game-style driving marked by aggressive lane weaving, triple-digit speeds, and road rage. With up to 100 of these undercover vehicles set to patrol California's highway, reckless drivers might want to think twice before treating the road like a rainbow road. The State Patrol noted that Mario was caught just 1 mile from the Modesto office, proving that crime doesn't pay, especially when you are practically drifting into the cop's backyard. So, unidentified reckless driver, man, you are a dumb criminal of the day. They're going to get you. Be careful. I get it. Who doesn't like to drive fast? But you got to be smart about it. You can't go in and out of lanes, causing chaos and mayhem. You can't have that. Got to have good order and discipline. All right, that's all we have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, the Constitution matters.